All right, so this is a suggestion via a donation. The name of the video is, can you be the R word to white people? I don't even know how that's a question, guys, but let's just go ahead and, let's see where this takes us. Let's just go down this.
Do you make white jokes?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've been guilty of it.
I don't think it's possible to be racist towards white people.
Racism was invented by white people.
Why do you think it's more accepted in society to make jokes about white people?
Because they make jokes about the rest of us.
White people have never gone through any oppression.
Guys, the concept of otherism has been around since humans have been around. Guys, we look at other people and we're just like, I don't know, that person's weird, right? So to say that one group of people created the concept of it is crazy. All right, that's a little crazy.
So the question I want to ask is
go.
it okay to be racist towards white people?
I still struggle with this myself. Despite their ancestral impact on America, it's not right to put all of them in that box.
I don't think it's okay to be racist towards...
That's a great answer, all right? That's a great answer. Let's continue.
On America, it's not right to put all of them in that box.
I don't think it's okay to be racist towards anyone. White people
Absolutely.
are still
There
people.
we go.
It's possible to be racist towards white people as well, yes.
I don't think you can be racist towards white people.
What do you mean by that?
Racism was invented by white people. You can't take it out of...
Oh, this guy is going to be fun to listen to. I'm just going to go ahead and point this out. He's going to be really fun to listen to. California, I'm guessing?
Historical context. So historically, there's been one race that has more power in the system. Racism was invented by white people to protect white power primarily.
I don't think it's possible to be racist towards white people. There needs to be a system of oppression. Generally, white people are the ones controlling that system of oppression.
Why do you think it's more accepted in society?
Okay, we're not going to have the conversation regarding specifically systematic and things like that. But if we're referring to mainly interpersonal, as in, if you meet someone and they look different than you and you instantly judge them off of the color of their skin rather than the overall content of their character, right? Then absolutely, it's a plausible thing to do, guys. The word semantics, I'm not really a fan of, guys. But all right, let's go.
Society to make jokes about white people.
Because they make jokes about the rest of us constantly.
So do you feel like you have your guard up against white people?
Sometimes I do.
When white people are going through hardship, they're not as sensitive to it as you would be to a black community. In general, like white people, the privilege behind that.
You make white jokes?
I do
Guys, everyone has privilege differently.
sometimes, a little bit, but
Everyone.
I'm trying to do better.
Every
Because over the
single
last
person.
few years, there's a growing movement where we're telling white people not only to ignore, but to accept things that we would never say to another race.
Too many white people in here, and this is a space for people of color.
Women.
If progress is the goal, then we must acknowledge inconsistencies and call out the double standards.
Bro, you make fun of white people all the time.
Not a whitey. I mean, bro, I'm just trying to make a video right now. But would questioning this issue make me a white apologist or an Uncle Tom? But
Okay, here's the thing. You very specifically, it depends. I don't think that you're going at it wrong. I mean, I've only encountered it for about a minute and a half. I'm listening to your attitude regarding it. I think you're just asking the question. It's fine to literally just ask the question. Do I think you're an apologist? Not really. You haven't said anything. You get what I'm saying here? But all right, let's get it.
more importantly, am I making the problem worse by even talking about it?
No.
So we gonna see. How
No.
do you define
Please, we need more conversations, guys.
racism?
Racism is judging or seeing yourself differently from somebody else because of the color of your skin.
I would just say just preconceived notions about someone based on their skin color.
It's like a systemic system where
I'll give you that.
basically people are starting off at a way different point
Yes and no.
because of the color of their skin.
Racism is a made-up social structure. It exploits people based on their race. Globally, it seems like there's a lot of whiteness controlling racism.
Is it okay to be prejudiced towards white people then?
Sure.
Is it okay to have prejudice towards black people?
I mean, it's not okay, but I mean, I think racism describes a system of power.
So for some, it seems like racism is about punching down, but not punching up. But does that mean that as minorities, we don't have the power to discriminate?
No, we definitely have the power to discriminate. That's a fact. You very personally have the ability to just absolutely trash another human being. Definitely. Now, on a systematic basis, probably not, bro. Right? But in terms of like interpersonal issues, yeah, bro. Come on.
See what the other side would say. A lot of people these days say that reverse racism doesn't exist. What do you think about that?
There's this belief that racism against the person who is most likely to conduct the racism doesn't make it racist, which is untrue.
If your definition of racism is purely systematic, no, I don't believe reverse racism can exist. If it's just a matter of discrimination, then yeah, absolutely.
I had a racist brother, and he was indigenous. Just because you're a minority doesn't mean you don't hate. A lot of cases.
Oh, guys, no, he's right. And that's why when it comes to the guy that asked the question initially, if he's an apologist or an Uncle Tom, etc., right? Like, no, bro, this is the thing here. When it comes to quote unquote minorities in the United States of America, they're not all the same. All right. There's generally there's a privilege within that. Just understand that. A lot of it had to do with like the brown paper bag tests, guys. I'm pretty sure you can Google that. You can kind of figure out what I'm saying here, guys. Like if you put a brown paper bag up, and if you were lighter than the paper bag, you basically were closer to being accepted to the majority society. And if you were darker than that, you probably were not on that level. And that's really what the brown paper bag test kind of went over in a sense, right? So when you start getting into things like this, like the guy on the left, I highly doubt that he had the same privileges as the guy on the right, guys. And that's just it is what it is. Every group has a different overall stereotype, and there are some honorable minorities, and it's definitely the East Asians are honorable in this instance, guys. But all right.
The racism, you find that people, they're
like
racist as a victim of something.
Do you think, though, at times people use that excuse of like, you can't be racist towards white people, and they mask hate with good intention?
I listen to my friends who are like people of color, and they tell me their experiences and how they feel, and I just try to understand the best that I can.
But today is a lot of the racism that we see in the West in your face or behind closed doors. So in order to address such issues, policies like affirmative action and racial quotas were introduced in the 60s to
affirmative action has more of a benefit to women of European descent.
Increase representations for historically disadvantaged.
That's not really a good example, bro.
Groups.
In our time, change has come to this nation too.
As we see today, controversy remains.
Affirmative action harms everybody, though in different ways.
As Thomas so well put it was a break from the traditional justice of equal opportunity in applying the same rules for all to a shift towards cosmic justice with a focus on equalizing prospects and creating equality of outcome.
The requirement for treating everyone the same is very simple. It's mass-produced. The requirements for cosmic justice must be handmade and tailored to each individual case.
And so it raises the question, can both equality and equity even coexist? But what are your thoughts on...
Potentially. Guys, a lot of people ask me, you need to react to that guy, the guy who we just saw on the screen. Guys, I know of him very well. Very well. I'm good, bro. I'm good.
On, let's say,
and it's like nothing to do with anything politics oriented or anything like that. There are multiple sides of a story, right? The history generally isn't one that has multiple sides. Well, kind of they do, because the victor will always kind of write the story, but that's not the context of what I'm kind of saying here, guys. Thomas Sowell is an interesting individual. He is intelligent, absolutely, extremely intelligent, but he tends to tell 35% of the story. And every time I listen to him speak, it's just like, bro, you're going to tell the rest of the story, or you're just going to not? My personal opinion.
Racial quotas or diversity hiring in the context of jobs or university.
Programs like affirmative action, I think, are necessary, and I think they've shown to be effective at balancing income
really,
inequality
guys.
between races.
Job or
no, affirmative action very specifically has not. That's a bad example.
opportunity should be given to the person who's got the best skill.
I think a lot of...
Yeah, exactly. The job should be given to the person who has the ability to perform the best, the person who has worked the hardest towards whatever that they're working towards.
At the time, the perception of diversity hire is that these people are unqualified, where in a lot of the times, you're giving somebody the shot to show that they are qualified.
If they didn't have those quotas, then less black people would be in certain programs. If they were to get assessed, they say, okay, no, I have 5 Asians, I have 10 black people.
Isn't that discrimination, though?
Of course it's discrimination, but it has to be this way because that's the world we have.
But that's not even the case, guys. I mean, we can keep talking about affirmative action, but affirmative action mostly benefits women of European descent. Can we come up with something else?
Isn't that discrimination, though?
Of course it's discrimination, but it has to be this way because that's the world we have created.
I would point to things like the Harvard scandal, where really, really qualified Asian kids, so they're getting left out. You can have a shitty doctor because somebody got into med school, but their scores weren't that great. But I believe in equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. I think that's Marxist, and you can only enforce that with a gun.
I've also heard instances that it actually hurts Asian people the most, who is definitely a minority with only 6% in America. In that sense, do you think that's creating more division?
I only know what I've read, and that's that they have been effective for helping historically underprivileged races.
Especially for my people, for 400 plus years, we've been discriminated against and not given opportunities.
I think that there's a bit of a slippery slope that happens when we bring people into certain opportunities or certain institutions simply because of their skin color. And you could even argue that itself inherently could be a bit racist.
It's reasonable.
She's intelligent, guys.
To have equal amount of different races involved in the workplace. But is it achievable the way we're doing it right now? No, I don't think it is.
So if achieving both is impossible, is the pursuit of inclusion actually creating more division? Because if
is the pursuit of inclusion creating more division? Yeah.
Measures are becoming more extreme and opportunities are given solely based on race, isn't it just going to go back to the same equality we sought to address?
Diversity matters.
And does that include for Asian Americans?
I'm not putting my personal opinion.
As he was fired for being a white male to diversify leadership positions.
So besides our obvious history with race, it made me think, why is America so obsessed with race and racism? Do you think talking about racism helps the problem or makes the problem worse?
Okay, guys, I can give you two very specific differences. Okay, so half the year I live in Spain, half the year I live in the United States of America. I can tell you that there's none of these conversations really happening in Spain. None of these conversations, even though there are a lot of like deeply melanated people in Spain. So here's the thing. Not having the conversation versus having the conversation. If I was to compare like walking through this society, I would rather have the conversation. Like not having the conversation, like experiencing what it's kind of like being in Spain occasionally, mainly when you go into like public. Yeah, let's have the conversation. We should always want to have a conversation and speak coherently between the two groups, because people will say in Spain, "Oh, it's this way," but at least you're not being. This is a literal quote from multiple people, guys. Okay, you can complain all you want about how it is for you, very specifically walking through Spain, but at least you're not dying in the street. That's the common thing. It's just like, oh, everything is okay. It's okay that we compare your skin tone to chocolate consistently on TV, and all the coffee ads are done specifically for with people that are from Africa. I mean, listen, it's completely okay that we do these things, guys. The cartoons are crazy. Just understand, they don't have the conversation. They didn't have the conversation. Right? But it is much better by far in terms of race relations in the United States of America, regardless of what anyone from outside of America says. It is better. I can tell you this right now. We need to have the conversation and have it consistently. That's it.
Talking about it with different sets of ideals hopefully pushes the conversation forward a little bit. Getting your worldview shattered and smashed to shit is sometimes good.
White people should be talking more about race. In my social settings with white friends, it isn't brought up enough.
I think there's a certain level of awareness that needs to be raised. However, bringing it up in the context of us versus them, I think that itself contributes to racism.
If we keep talking about it, eventually, it'll probably subside somewhat. I don't think it's going to go away, though.
I think you have to look at things holistically, and you can't be...
Guys, this thing is this curse is built into our DNA.
Just one-sided, left or right. I feel like there's always a middle ground.
People recycle the same bullshit topics, but no one's talking about love.
Do you think minorities blame white people too much?
Yes, 100% they do, because it's an excuse.
Why the aren't we talking about how we can connect more and actually learn about each other? Why is it always the problem we talking about? Why not the solution?
Yeah, guys, the blame is absolutely crazy. Right. And if you are deeply melanated in the United States of America, you understand you have a couple of family members, bro. You have a couple of family members who blame every single thing in their life on people of European descent. And it's just like, bro, you're wrong. Right. It tells me that you really haven't experienced life outside of this neighborhood, if that makes any sense. Like leave the country, leave the state, and you'll instantly realize that people are generally going to be people, right? The conversation is definitely needed, but like it's not anyone else's fault that you failed in life, bro. It's this mentality of being a victim every 5 minutes of the day. You're blaming someone else consistently, zero accountability, bro. Be accountable for the life that you led. Let me guess, you emulated something you saw on TV or a movie or a music video, and you thought that was actually life because you thought that. Or you defined what you saw as success. That's not success. That's new money and most likely a failure. You get what I'm saying here? Like not everyone could be a rapper or a basketball player, guys. I mean, everyone has someone. You have to do something that can benefit society. For the most part, you have to become irreplaceable in whatever field you go into, right? I mean, if you can do that very specific thing, success will come. 100%, you will be successful. Stop blaming people for every single thing. It's you.
Now, this may sound wild, but has this obsession with race created an environment where woke people and racists are becoming the same thing?
Yes.
Because if it's true, perhaps one of the first signs was seen 6 years ago in this small college in Washington. The annual day of absence at Evergreen State College involved minority students leaving campus for the day to raise awareness of their contributions. But then in 2017, organizers decided to reverse the roles and ask white students and faculty to leave campus instead.
Get out! It's not helpful! Get out!
Brett Weinstein, a white professor, objected, citing these demands as forced segregation and discriminatory. And soon after, Weinstein's objections were met with protests and accusations of racism as student activists called for his resignation for promoting white supremacy.
I am not interested in debate. I am interested only in dialectic, which does mean I listen to you and you listen to me.
Eventually, Weinstein and his wife resigned from their positions and filed a lawsuit which was eventually settled for $500K. And so even though the protesters may have genuinely felt that they were advocating for inclusion, the reality is that they were promoting exclusion based on race.
That's how whiteness works. Whiteness is the most violent system to ever breathe.
Frankly, every student in that hallway has a clue about where they're going wrong.
And so are we continuing to head down a path of revenge masked as equality? Because as it stands, is it fair to...
Bro, that feels like a Dave Chappelle sketch or something. I feel like that feels like that can't be real. Apparently it is, but yeah, guys, these super like woke people, let's say, right? They absolutely are acting just like what they think other people are acting like. I mean, and I would say the majority of them, like the super alert ones, guys, right?
To generalize an entire group based on the actions of a few in the past.
Sure, I actually think that's a really interesting question because there's a lot of research coming out about how trauma is intergenerational. So even though you may not have experienced something, if your parents did, if they ever shared that story with you, you might have that ingrained memory somewhere.
Right. Okay, well then how about this? Like, I'm Japanese American, right? Do you think then...
Oh no, specifically, oh God, guys, here we go. Let's get into the interments, bro.
Like Americans should judge the actions of my ancestors, let's say, on me.
I think it's important that like people have this type of dialogue, why they think a certain way, why they hold certain beliefs, and that's the only way we're going to be able to move forward as a society.
Okay, but what if we take a completely different approach to it? Do you think it's okay to be racist if you're equally racist to everyone?
That's correct.
Equal opportunity racism.
Equal opportunity racism.
That's just
funny thing someone told me recently is they want to learn more about culture so they can be more accurate in their racism.
Shut up.
Why do you think I'm traveling right now?
That is straight dedication.
Kidding aside, is saying that we don't have the power to discriminate as minorities using victimhood to actually discriminate. But on the other hand,
Victimhood.
is this overcorrection necessary to correct the wrongs of the past?
No,
It
not at
seems
all.
like that's exactly what Hollywood is doing. Whether it be Indian Velma or Black Annie, a recent trend has been replacing originally white characters with minorities in the name of diversity.
Okay, guys, listen. If it is a fictional movie, cartoon, I don't care. You're not getting any sympathy from me on that, bro. I'm sorry. If you're trying to garnish, if you're trying to get any, guys, listen, bro. You had me for the majority of the video here. But if you start talking about people changing characters over some cartoon or any type of fictional character, I don't care. If it's like Ryan Gosling playing MLK, we can have a conversation. All right, you get what I'm saying here, guys? Or Denzel Washington playing George Washington. Let's have a conversation about that. But yeah, bro, I don't care about the fiction. Characters.
The power of media cannot be ignored.
Do you think that's a good way to increase representation amongst minorities, or do you think that's a bit lazy?
Anytime that we try to intentionally increase visible minority representation in the media is a good thing.
Maybe it's forceful diversity, people trying too hard to be inclusive and all that.
Honestly speaking, I can't say that I looked to Disney characters or other characters to see what opportunities exist for me. However, being able to see other women of color in positions of power, whether it be in the legal force, whether it be in politics, was something that did open my eyes to the opportunities that are possible.
Yes, I'm a Black woman, but when they create these shows, it's like almost so far gone from me. I don't care what my skin color is. I know who I am.
Bro, all of the shows on TV are basically almost terrible. Like when you can literally tell that this person was casted just for the concept of like a diversity hire, it ruins the show. It ruins the movie. I will click off of it, bro. It's just like, what's happening right now? This has nothing to do with the story. Like, why do I care about this person's life like that? It has nothing to do with it doesn't make the story better, bro. It just makes me not want to watch it.
I think it's pandering a lot of the time. When it's just you swap out a character, you don't change the dialogue, and you say they're Black now, and then you try to make yourself look good, that's lazy and pandering to me.
Yeah,
It's a good
there we
point,
go.
because
There
does
we go.
Hollywood genuinely care about amplifying minority voices, or is it about the woke points? Don't you think
That's
it would
what it
also
is.
just be more
That's what
effective
it
if
is.
we actually just told real stories of minorities, of like actual people, instead of just replacing it with a traditionally white character?
Bro, I'm gonna be honest. I think a Mansa Musa movie would be wild. Okay, I want to see a Mansa Musa movie, bro. That's it, right? That character would be amazing. It's a different story that has never been told in any real meaningful way. Hollywood has never touched it, and I know that movie would work, right? But instead, you're kind of just I see what's happening here.
Matt Damon, who was in the Great Wall of China, and everyone was so offended. Why is it him?
Scarlett Johansson played like an Asian girl.
So it's like, is it because she's a better actress? There's no way there is a one Asian person that could have been casted that's as good as Scarlett, because Scarlett is not that great.
And that's exactly why we need to explore the intention. Because besides the history of negative, racist, and emasculating portrayal of Asians in media, for years, films about Asians were being replaced with white people. But in current times, it's shifted to ignorant portrayals of white people while still continuing to focus on our differences rather than our similarities.
It's white cis men who are
The least grounded, most destructive race.
And when media is constantly impacting how you view society, we're being taught that every societal ill is the fault of whites, and that as minorities, we can say
I don't know. Add men to that. Also.
Say whatever the hell we want about white people. So at this point, what the hell even is the solution to a more equal society? But what I realized is that this whole time, we weren't even looking at the right problem. What do you think is a bigger problem, racial or income differences?
I would say that income inequality would be worse, because I think that if we were to be able to fix that somehow, then it could fix a lot of the other issues.
Income inequality. I think that we all deserve a certain standard of living. Yes.
Deserve no.
Racism sucks.
Here's the thing, guys. That's that equality of outcome, I think, statement that was made earlier. No one really deserves what they don't work for, and that's real, bro. I don't know how you could say you deserve this, guys. That's not real, bro. That means someone else is giving it to you.
Income inequality. I think that like we all deserve like a certain standard of living. Yes, racism sucks, but at the same time, it's not on the level of like people who can't eat.
I think the discrepancy of income can actually affect certain components of race and how certain things are viewed. And so
she's dropping bars.
I kind of see them as feeding into each other.
Racial, absolutely. Like racial inequality follows income inequality.
I think it's still racial because at the end of the day, that plays into the income and everything else that goes on. Like
permanent victims, guys.
Like the opportunities that we have, I think it all plays into it. So
there's relative poverty and there's abject poverty. In the West, I don't think we have abject poverty. But people
Not
that
at
are
all.
down and don't want to get up and work, go bust your ass, man. Very few people that are busting their ass. I would say most of them are probably getting someplace. It may be slow, but you're going to get someplace.
How about like, let's say for an example, like LeBron James' son. Do you think he probably was born in a better position than, let's say, like a poor white kid in the trailer park?
I feel like that's different.
Is it?
You can't compare the two.
No, compare the two.
Because at the end of the day, he is a black man. He still is viewed as a black man in society.
Having more money would help you get along better. You can have power and still be a victim of racism.
So no matter whichever issue.
Technically, they're not wrong in that instance. You can still have power and still be somewhat of a victim of that, because again, everyone can really. It's one of these anyone can get it type of situations, guys. I mean, yeah, you can be super rich and still like look at the Oprah situation in was it Amsterdam or Denmark, Finland? Guys, Amsterdam, when she tried to go in and get that purse. And the lady was like, "You can't afford this purse, right?" And then she left, and then on like an interview or something, she was like, "Yeah, it was at this store where this happened." And then the owner of the store was like, "Oprah?" type of thing. Guys, a lot of it has to do with people just don't know who you are, and then they group you into a group of people who may be considered undesirable. And I will say this has happened almost exclusively to me in Europe, right? Everything changes as soon as they realize that you are not from Africa. And guys, understand how terrible that sounds. Okay. Once, even in Spain, so keep this in mind. All of the stuff I was talking about Spain earlier, as soon as they recognize that you are American and not African, every single thing about whatever they were thinking or feeling changes. It doesn't matter. So to his point here, economics. They know you're from America, so obviously if you're in another country, you obviously can afford to be here. You get what I'm saying here? That means you probably make more on a consistent basis than the person that is looking at you like they are better, if that makes any sense. Not saying that finances make you better or worse, but that's what's happening, I think, internally in some of the people's minds. So in Europe, as long as they know it seems at least, as long as they know you're not African and you're American, things are different. And that's just my experience in basically all of the countries in Europe.
Issue is worse. Why do we always hear about one but not the other? Why do you think like in the news, like we hear more instances of, I feel like a lot of the rhetoric in the media today is around racial wars.
It's a way of grasping at straws and dealing simply with very complex issues. But the big issue is poverty and overpopulation.
People who are in charge of portraying things in the media are often very wealthy themselves, right? They don't want to shine a light on inequality.
Racism seems a lot more visual. It's visual.
Yeah. You
Right.
get...
I mean, these are good examples. These are really good examples. But I can tell you, like, being a YouTuber, right? I can definitely tell you, as a matter of fact here, it is all about the title of the video. So if they put black people, white people, etc. in the title of that video, it'll get views. I know this video here is going to get views. I know it is. I could look at the title. It's almost a guarantee that a lot of people will watch this. And so now I know that. If I know that, but I tend not to attempt to utilize that very specific thing because I don't like pandering, right? But all the news does, and all the media, all they do is pander because they want clicks so they can sell more ads, guys, right? And that's just not me. That's why I don't specifically dive into these overall topics consistently, even though I know my channel will probably triple in size if I did, right? But that's not my thing. I don't pander, guys. All right, let's get it.
That outrage response with racism. It's easy to be like, that person.
And when the focus is on differences, that's all we start seeing.
Yep.
Since 1989, Scott Adams has been best known for his newspaper comic Dilbert, as well as his books and live streams on social and political issues. However, on February 22nd of this year, it all came crashing down.
This is the first political poll that ever changed my activities.
On his live stream, Adams responded to a poll that asked black respondents if it was okay to be white, and the results showed that 53% said yes, while 26% disagreed, and 21% were not sure.
It's not okay to be what you
half
are?
of all blacks are not okay with white people. That's a hate group, and I don't want to have anything to do with it, based on the current way things are going. The best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people.
Newspapers across the country are dropping the Dilbert comics.
There's a line that gets crossed.
What do you say to people who heard that and say, Scott Adams is racist? Are you?
Bro, I don't listen. That's a rough one. Yeah, bro, you gotta go.
This prompted
pack it up.
Several newspapers to drop his strip and his publisher to cancel his upcoming book. In a separate stream,
Like,
Adams
what did you
defended his
think
remarks as
was gonna
hyperbole,
happen
and that the
after
cancellation
that?
was based on out-of-context statements.
Out of context statements? I just
listen to it in context. Makes perfect sense. Did I espouse racism, or did I say you should try to get away from it?
He explains further that corporate influences are creating a collective narrative that people are racist, and there's some amount of the black population that's poisoned.
They're just poisoned by the narrative. They are victims.
He further clarified his points that white Americans are demonized by the collective forces.
So wherever there are groups of people who have been programmed by the media to have a reflexive bad feeling about you, I would avoid them.
And so with further context, does he have a point?
Every time we treat race as the way to understand anything, it doesn't work. But class does. If you look at class, it explains everything.
Are we being taught through the cycle of negative?
Yeah. I don't want to, bro. I don't want to agree with you. I don't. Listen. Don't clip me, guys. I don't want to agree with him at all. I don't. But I mean, listen. Class is a major thing here, guys. I mean, the more class someone has, the less of a victim they generally tend to be, and then the less they even are susceptible to what the media has been consistently trying to do. All right, that's how I'm gonna leave that.
Media to hate one another, and that it was always about the money.
Especially in America, I think that the foundation is built upon differences, and that's not right. I think it's on purpose. It's perpetuated through the media, through separation, through stereotype. And yeah, purposefully, we're all too mean to each other and focused on how we're not similar when we are.
And so if we want more unity, we must prioritize accountability. Because ironically, it's those who claim to be the most open-minded that's actually the most closed-minded. And it's exactly why the line between woke people and racists are becoming the same thing. Do you think that's the best way to achieve equality is through hate?
No, absolutely not. But I think you can't have those two words in the same sentence, equality and hate,
Because if equality is achievable, it's never through hate. But instead, it's about looking inwards and having conversations to find common ground. Because if we truly care about an issue, we must acknowledge the good and also address the bad and sometimes the ugly. And that's exactly the mission to explore the unfamiliar. Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you want to see more content where I turn street interviews into investigative journalism. And if YouTube gets it right, you'll like this video too.
Okay, guys. Overall, I mean, I think this was a solid video here, guys. Just to answer the question, I think everyone can be toxic towards everyone else. This is mainly for the people who just skip to the end of videos, guys. Everyone has the ability, absolutely, to be terrible to another person based off of the appearance, guys. There's not guys, it's so frustrating to me. This is why I'm kind of like lost here with my speech here, because it's like, of course you can be terrible to someone. Of course you can. I don't know where that whole thing came from. Well, I mean, we moved on, guys. We moved on in society, and things are nowhere near what they once were. Guys, this is so frustrating to encounter. This was really good, guys. This is really good. This was a really good video. So make sure you go back and watch it then, guys. All right, I'm not going to leave a long, lengthy outro here, guys. I want you guys to actually check it out. It's a solid one. All right. But listen, now let me know in the comments of the next one of these type of videos we should be checking out, and I will get into that as soon as I possibly can. All right. Listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy it thoroughly.